but it is about exercising your imagination in a way that you may not have ever done before. See how far your imagination can go. What we're going to do right now is basically improvise and see what we find just randomly as we walk around. So the first one here, see the eyes right there, you see a mouth right there, you see all the different teeth. You could even interpret that as a tear coming down. So it's a little kind of strange looking of an image, but there is definitely a face right there. So one of the things I do is I just observe. Sometimes when you're walking, exercising, you daydream a little bit. So that's what you're kind of doing. Is I'm using a DSLR camera, but you can just use your phone as well. Any device you can find to capture the world around you. That's the goal of what this project is trying to tell you to do. Rock formations are really, really good to find these things. Whenever you see these types of pores, I photograph this a lot with state parks and national parks with rock formations. You'll see these happening all over with the kind of weather erosion. So you can see kind of the different types of eyes. You can see a whole bunch of different like multi eyes that are happening here, and a slight mouth that's occurring right there as well. And if I like what I see, I'll set my exposure, take a picture, and then I'll go back and I'll look at that in my photo archives and decide, if I want to use that and see if that's something that inspires me. And again, it's not about the camera you're using. It can be just your phone. It's all about the creative process right now. Becoming very aware of the world around you and the concept of pareidolia and how you can use finding these faces to inspire you. Okay, this is a fun one. So we're going to dive into the trash now. So this right here, you're seeing two eyes right there, a little bit of a funny little mouth that's happening there. So again, I've never seen that before. I'm going to take a picture of it. I like the texture. I find the grittiness and the texture of it to be kind of interesting. The weathered quality of it works really well for me. I like all these different types of abstract sketch textured marks that I'm seeing all over the place. That creates some really interesting formations on there. Okay, right there. Again, this is all stuff I've never seen before. This is like seeing clouds you've never seen in the sky. So those little knobs there look a little bit like alien heads. So I'm going to take a picture. So I'm using the camera as a discovery device right now. I'm not using it's for finding art and making art, but I'm using it for more discovery and archival of what I'm finding, so that way I can then sketch out what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's funny because you see the two eyes right there, you see a little bit of tiny little mouth that's happening there. And the key thing to this exercise is that you can find faces anywhere. It doesn't matter where you live. It can be outside your door. It can be in nature is probably the best, because nature is such a huge source of inspiration, especially for me. Not just for your emotions and your imagination, and also for exercise, but to me, you can find these faces anywhere and everywhere. Those two windows there are my classroom that I teach in. So if we look at those two different windows, in that little column between there creates a nose, and then the square underneath is a little bit of a mouth. So that's literally a face I've really never noticed before. And I teach there. So I park right in front of that. I find a lot of inspiration just on the ground, even where it could be right beneath your feet. Right here for the stripe of paint, these little two pebbles that are on the ground here, you see the two eyes right here, you see a little bit of a mouth that's occurring here, kind of a smiley face. Getting a picture of it, then I can download that picture later on and look through my images and say, hey, if that's a really interesting image or shot, I can possibly use that for something else. Okay, this is a good one. And again, these are ones I've never seen before. Folds of drapery is a great way to find faces. This is something that I found when I was a little kid, is shadows will create interesting forms in your mind's eye. So in here, there's like this little discoloration happening in the glass here that creates the eyes in there. The folds of whatever, this seems to be a cloth there, is creating a little bit of a shadow and a highlight there for the lips. So you see a mouth happening right there. You see the two eyes. This almost looks like a ghost peering out from the window. And again, you're trying to unlock your imagination. You're really trying to see how far your imagination can go right now. You're in an active play right now. That's the point. You're allowing yourself to step out of being an adult and being in your most creative state. Okay, instead of looking down, let's look up. Cumulus clouds are really strong. Thunderstorm clouds are really great to see. Those are the ones that I really like to take pictures of. This looks like a pterodactyl to me with really super crazy large wings going across the entire expanse of the canvas sky. And the fun thing there is that that's only going to be there just for a few minutes here. It's fleeting. So again, that's the purpose of the camera, is to capture that moment, capture what is going to be there just for a moment. It's almost like a rainbow or a sunset. The cool thing about using your imagination here is that things aren't in proportion like you're used to seeing them, but that helps unleash your mind, and unleash your creativity, because then you're able to dream bigger because it's not what you've seen before. You're able to see more. That's the whole point of this, is that you're able to see more from the world around you. And again, clouds have always been an inspiration for everyone, especially for me. Everyone's dreamed into the clouds before. It's something very universal, and I think we got to keep doing that. People got to remind themselves, don't stop doing that. To me, it's a major part of feeling young and feeling good. It's a big part of what we're doing here. If you forget to do that, you die a little bit inside and you feel old. This is about feeling young. The cracks in the ground here creates a little bit of a smile. Hairband right there creates the nose. You group that all together using the Gestalt principle of law of prognos, and you're able to see that face and that form. Those discolorization things, I see those all the time, and it creates like a really interesting textural look to these as well, is to have that little bit of a darkness that's happening there for the eyes. There's the mouth right there. And I just love the texture that I'm getting there. Sometimes I'll do a wide shot too, just to show where I found this. Because if you just get close-up shots, you're just kind of saying, okay, there's a face there, sure. But the point is to show that it's in a completely random spot that you just never would have thought something would be there. That's the fun part of it. So I'm finding a whole bunch right now. It's like striking gold in the most unusual spots and locations. This big weathered patch in this parking lot area, I'm able to see, it can be side profile shots. It can be left side, right side. So this one's a side, this person's looking this direction. So then you can see kind of a little bit of a chin here happening. There's two eyes there, there's the head. So you get this a lot with, pebbles on the ground there. And it's all about 3 or more different objects in close proximity to each other will then create those faces for you to group them together, and you'll see that face there. And again, if you photograph it and you reflect on it and you take it seriously as something that could be inspirational to create something from it, then you will find some magic. That's the point. You gotta believe. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're trying to find. So many people are just like, everything's been done, everything's been done. Well, then if you believe that, and if you're that cynical, then everything has been done. You got to snap out of that. That's the thing. That's the conflict we're trying to deal with every single day as an artist, is that there's more out there if you're willing to look for it. If you look at the work of any type of artist out there, Picasso, a Dali, Tim Burton, Guillermo del Toro, Walt Disney, all of those people have had to go into those weirder corners to find some inspiration, and then trying to find a balance with it to make it into an interesting story. One of my students, when we did this practice for the finding faces, this is the one that he found, but this is the exact spot that he took a picture of and then drew. And what's really neat about this is that he just found this playground, which ironically is about going back to childhood to get inspired and be a dreamer again. But if you look at this, if you group it together with the slide there, you can see the bolts are creating eyes there. The steering wheel, as part of the playground, is creating a nose, and then the slide is an orangish color, and that is creating a tongue going all the way down. So that's how you're seeing that whole different form there, and it looks really, really funny and interesting when you group that all together. Then I can go back, download these pictures, see what I get. And the key thing is you don't want to flip through them too fast. Sometimes you need to really stop, focus on it, and then just spend some time sketching it. Again, we have a class called Cafe Sketch here at CCAD. It's about, going to different locations and sketching the life that you see around you. This is no different. The only difference is that you're sketching the imagination around you. Conceptually, that's a really fascinating thing for people to do, and it's something that most people forget to do in life, is they stop dreaming. If you stop dreaming, you die, especially as an artist. Gestalt theory is about the active mind. This is literally what we're doing. We're keeping our brain active and looking around the world, just completely improvising and seeing what you're gonna find. So the next thing we're going to do is look at some trees. Tree trunks are a great source of inspiration. This is something that inspired me when I was very young. Oh boy, there's a bunch on here. This is like finding a praying mantis on a tree or something. You're just like, whoa, how exciting. And again, it's about being young again. This is like playing with toys. If you look on here, you can see the two eyes that are happening right there, a little bit of a nose, and then you have the rest of that face. Again, it doesn't have to be a front face, but this one here is a side face. So you see the eye happening right there. You see a mouth, you see the forehead, nose, and a chin, all very distinct. Really unusual stuff. Again, this is dealing with the subconscious mind. This is dealing with surrealism, expressionism. This is like Picasso on a tree. This is what I consider this stuff. It's like people wonder, like, how does Picasso see the things that he sees? I'm like, well, you just got to activate a certain part of your brain. Don't take the world literally, and then you're able to express, the sky's the limit. This one's kind of a fun one. So you see these two little knobs here are creating the eyes. This here is like kind of a open mouth going, oh, kind of a look. Kids often look at trees like this the same way, and they laugh sometimes when they see this type of thing, because they're like, oh my gosh, can't people see that there's a face there? And it's funny, the adults can't really see it as well, but kids can. That's why some people think that kids are geniuses when they're young, because their mind is so much more open to the world around them. They haven't shut down their imaginations as much. So really powerful. When I do nature walks, this is literally what I'm doing. I'm going through nature and finding things that inspire me. Sometimes you got to look around. Don't expect the things just to jump out at you. Sometimes you have to work a little bit harder. So there's one right there. One of the most famous faces you're gonna find is Edvard Munch's The Scream. It's the face of, the person with his hands up on the head. I typically see the Munch's The Scream all over the place. There could be a psychological thing, I don't know. But it's funny, because it is there. The other thing about this is it can be kind of horrific faces that you sometimes see. You can see kind of a ghoulish face that's happening right here. Then you see a little bit of a yawning mouth. I love photographing birch trees. Colorado has a ton of these, Nevada and Utah. And these are the trees that I think look the most like Picasso paintings. If you look at that, you see the eyes on them. That looks extremely close to what an eye looks like, or a drawn eye specifically, not an actual literal eye, but a drawn eye. These look like artistic drawings on trees, on the bark on the tree itself. These are probably the most imaginative work of art in nature, I feel. One of the greatest. And it's funny and ironic that it's next to the Columbus Museum of Art, but it's about looking at it that way. Everyone goes past these trees, they just see them as white trees with some funny markings. But if you look at them closer, you're just like, you can get so inspired by this, because if you look at that with an acute imagination, you're seeing something that this tree trunk has 20 eyes on it. Think about that, how mind-blowing that is. The thing that we're doing right now, again, is finding inspiration, taking this seriously enough to take a photo of it, being so true to yourself and have enough conviction and enough belief and confidence in yourself to look at that image and then draw from it, and not be afraid of what you're going to draw from it is good or bad. That's not the point. It's not about making a masterpiece. That could happen, who knows? but it is about exercising your imagination in a way that you may not have ever done before, or you haven't done since you were very, very young. So if we look down here on the ground, these kind of strange chippings on the path here are very much like clouds to me. These are kind of like these little blobby types of discolorization, weathering on the path itself are creating what to me look like concrete clouds. Great phrase. But you can start seeing little forms and shapes in there. Oh my gosh, this is a great one. I love this. So this almost looks like a dragon. You can see the eyes right there. You see a mouth that looks like possibly a nose ring on the dragon itself. So, but that's a great one there. That's funny. And what's really exciting here and what's so inspirational is we're next to a temple of art, the Museum of Art, but we're finding accidental art all over the place surrounding that very building. That's amazing. No, I mean, seriously, this just blows my mind. And the crazy thing is 99.999% of the population will not see that. There might be a little kid that walks through here, maybe on a field trip, that will see that and kind of go, hey, look at that. But then they'll forget about it. What we're doing is we're not forgetting about it. We're using our camera to take a picture of it. This over here looks like some sort of blobby unicorn to me. There's the horn right there. There's the eye. And again, this is kind of like, this is a sidewalk that's kind of chipping away. And then you have the rest of the mouth and the head right there. That'd be really difficult to dream that up or to draw that on your own. When people say draw a unicorn, they draw a unicorn. But to me, that's a completely different way of seeing a unicorn. And that's how your creativity works. You're taking an alien and a unicorn, your brain's trying to make sense of both of them from what you're seeing there. You're combining them together, you're making something new. That's art. That is literally art that you just did there. And you're not imitating anything either. That's the problem I see with this generation, is that they just imitate what they're seeing out there. They're not using their creativity and the originality of their own self. The only problem that's inhibiting them is they're like, oh, that's weird. Yeah, but that's where new things come from. Is that if you just keep remaking and regurgitating the same things that are out there, you're not making anything new, no progress. You gotta be open enough to go further. That makes you an artist, no matter your age. Oh, geez, man. Look at that, like that right there. There's a crazy face right there. That's insane. So to me, I consider myself an idea photographer. That's literally what you're doing right now with this. Yeah, idea photography. Some of the stuff I'm seeing right here is, to me, it's special to me because no one else sees it. It's almost like your miniature world that you get to be part of that other people don't see. You just got to activate a certain part of your brain. Don't take the world literally, and then you're able to express the sky's the limit.